Hi everybody, welcome to Witness My Minis. I'm Peter and today I make some mistakes. Sometimes we have a plan, something to strive for in our mind's eye. For me, this isn't always super clear, but more of an idea, a concept, if you will. And when I get this way, I just want to get to that end stage fast. And what do I end up doing? Well, of course, taking shortcuts and making mistakes. In this video, I will talk about the mistakes I did while painting this bust and how I tackled it and how I try to fix my mistakes. The bust itself is from Big Child Creatives. It's a part of their Songs of War series. I got it at their site during Black Friday. This video is not sponsored. I did, however, get an affiliate link. And if you don't know what that is, it's a link down in the description to their store. And if you buy anything following that link, I will get a small kickback and you will support this channel with your purchase. A discount to share with you guys that is also down in the description. So my original thought for this video was that I was going to paint a complementary scheme, a very saturated one, using the same complementary colors that I did in my last video when I painted the Ogre Butcher. That time I did, however, dull them down and made them very desaturated. So the thought was to show off that a complementary scheme can look very different with the same kind of colors. If you haven't seen that video, the link should be in the corner right now or down in the description. After I primed the bust black, I sprayed it with white ink to map out some shapes. The skulls underneath I plan to make the brightest of neon green. Her skin, on the other hand, will go from purple to magenta. I filter on some colors with the airbrush, just to get some feel of my scheme right off the bat. The green I'm using is from Golden High Flow. The thing I love the most about these colors are that they work so damn well through the airbrush, with no thinning or anything needed. They do, however, have a tendency to be a little bit glossy, so keep in mind that you might need to varnish at a later stage. The magenta on the skin is a thin down scale 75 artist color. These, on the other hand, are tube colors and need a lot of thinning. But since the pigment density is so high, I can just add some water in my cup, put some paint on a brush and then dip it into the water. That will tint the water and it will be just fine. Start slow with just a little color, try it out, and then add more if you want it thicker. Or you can just lower the PSI on the compressor and go slow when spraying. On top of that, I sketch some rough layers. I wet blend the shadow color and the midtone by changing color quickly. But it's also here that I make my first mistake. Look at what I'm doing with my brush. This was actually painful to watch myself. I know better than to do this. But in the heat of the moment and with hurrying to get to the end goal, I use my brush like a pen. I continue to go back and forth over places that I've already painted, aggravating the paint that is already there. This is a recipe for disaster. Later, all the paint will come off at this part, showing the black primer again. So, what should I have done instead? If the paint would have been thicker, this wouldn't have been such a big problem. But when it's this thin, I just keep picking it back up with my brush strokes. I should have picked a direction and painted all my brush strokes in that way. And then waiting for it to set to not risk picking any paint up and messing it all up. So much of what we do in this hobby has to do with patience, especially if you want to paint something up real nice. And I have to be honest, sometimes I lack that. Here you see me doing the right thing when going in for this highlight on top. First of all, a little thicker paint, and secondly, one directional strokes. What I don't think about here is that the underlying layer is still not good and will end up taking all of this with it. With the face, I have more patience. And also there is much more small details that hinders me to, frankly, go bananas with larger brush strokes all over the place. So as I see it, you have two options. Either you step away and don't paint. You take a break for a later date. For me, this always comes with the risk of not picking this thing up again, since, it has to be fixed. It feels like work. Second option, just leave that part of the mini. Let your mind focus on something else and just let it be. Just let the area set and rest and let your mind calm down. Otherwise, you risk just going in there, going harder and harder and harder, and just keep failing. And that will not be an enjoyable paint session. It will frankly be miserable. In my case, there was a lot of other stuff that needed base coats. The dagger in her hand, the leather parts, the weird bone crown. Part by part, I feel I come closer to that goal that I had envisioned. And as I wet blend the shadow color with a brown leather color for the back, I suddenly have the nerve to move back and see if I can fix my mistake. So what did I do? I go back with a lot more patience. After some new layers of more covering highlight paint from Vallejo, I turn the process on its head, and instead of building up the highlight, I start to glaze down darker. My earlier attempt of saving time by hurrying did in fact cost me extra time in the end. The first airbrush glaze I do is the same skin color watered down a lot, just to smoothen out the edges of the brushstrokes. And as you see here, I go slow. So slow that you can almost not see anything happening. But it does. And when I feel happy with the fade, I go in with the magenta glaze to bring back color and glaze the transition some more. Just making sure to not cover the whole breast, since I want the final highlight to remain. After that, I move to the shadow color, and I move further away from the bright skin, and just making sure that this glaze overlaps some with the magenta I just did. When I already had the airbrush out and feeling good about what I'm seeing, I use it to do some blending on the face as well. I go back to some of the parts that I base coated earlier, making some highlights to the hair with stippling and some to the bone crown as well. And then there is some parts of any mini that makes it all worth it. The pop moment. For this one, it was when I painted those glowing eyes. After fiddling with some more details of the face and other parts of the Mini, it was time to make the skulls stick out and glow. My plan was to dilute a white oil color and make a white oil wash and just let that sink into the recesses and hit that with the airbrush and some green fluorescent color and some yellow fluorescent color. But when I opened my drawer to my oil paints, I found I had a color that I hadn't used before, and it was a white iridescent color. And I thought that could be kind of cool. I thinned it down a lot and put it all over the skulls. And then came back sometimes later for the cleaning process. This is when I realized my second mistake. Again, I didn't think. I didn't look anything up. I just went like, let's try it. Not realizing, of course, that there would be billions of flakes in this thing. Like looking like glitter. And like fucking glitter, it went everywhere. I cleaned, then I cleaned some more using brushes, sponges, Q-tips, you name it. And after banging my head through a wall, I put it aside to be tackled another day, maybe. So remember what I said earlier about putting something aside that needs to be fixed? This bust sat on my shelf for quite some time and without any real plan in the near future to pick it up. But then I started to look at some of the footage that I filmed of me painting the bust, and I kind of liked some of it. And when I saw myself doing the first mistake, painting the breast, I thought maybe this video should be about something else. Maybe it should be about mistakes and how to fix them. And just like that, I had a purpose to pick it up once again and try to fix my mistake. So I start by trying to cover all of the white and the little glitter that I didn't manage to get off with a yellow fluorescent color. This will be the final highlight to the green OSL. It's really diluted and it takes some time to get this done. After that, I moved to the brush. I put a white heavy body acrylic on the palette and then continue to highlight the eyes and the parts that I want to shine the most. When the white has dried, I go in again with the same yellow fluorescent color, just as before, but laying it on rather thick over the white base. This makes it really pop. After that, I shade down some upper areas of the skull. And with this, I feel kind of done with this Mini, to be honest. It's not perfect in any ways, but in some ways it is striking, and it does stand out in my cabinet. So, what should you take away from this video? There's 3 things. First of all, if you make a mistake, slow down. Move to another part and don't try to force it. Secondly, take a break. Put the brush down, come back to it another day. But try to think about ways to solve the issue, to fix your mistake, and try to give yourself a reason to go back to it and finish what you started. And thirdly, everyone makes mistakes. It's easy to think that some people don't because things out there look so gorgeous. Be sure of it. Everybody makes mistakes. This is how we learn. And in the immortal words of Bob Ross,
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
And with that, thank you for watching. And here you have my final result. My happy accident. Bye guys.